Hey everybody, Julie and Dr. A back today with another varieties video, and I have a surprise annual, perennial, and shrub to get his hot takes on. So Dr. A, for annuals, let's talk about Osteospermum.
Oh no,
Why?
osteosperm. Okay, so the osteos, again, they're one of those plants that when you see them grown well or in a landscape or particularly in a greenhouse, or particularly, Julie, where we happen to hang out in California, I mean, they are to die for. The breeding is spectacular. Where you see them look good, and I guess this is true of any plant, but more so for some of these daisy type things, where you see osteos look good, they look spectacular. The problem with osteos, and Julie, I hope you don't get in trouble for what I say, but the problem with osteos is historically, and I say historically, and they're relatively new, but in the last 15 years, historically, they were pretty weak. And I say weak, meaning that they didn't have a lot of weather ability. They didn't rebound terribly well, you know, from whatever inclement weather there was. And they had, I'm going to get in trouble, they had very little heat tolerance, meaning that they do really well if the night temperatures don't get above 75 degrees. And in many parts of the country, that's fine, but there's a ton of parts of the countries where night temperatures easily get above 75 degrees and stay there. And so it just declined over time in the summer. And that's a bit of a problem if you're buying an annual because you're expecting it. That's sort of by definition, an annual kind of flowers most of the season.
Mhm.
And if you're not told that it doesn't have a lot of heat tolerance, you might get disappointed and not come back for a second year. Now, having said that, I've seen new osteos that are much better. Uh, but I mean, that's just the way it is. That's the name of the beast. So, as long as we as an industry can say, and we as a garden center, or we as whoever can say, hey, it may not have as much heat tolerance as you want, it's going to be beautiful when it's beautiful. And certainly in the spring and early summer, you can't beat these suckers. But I don't know if I personally would put it in somebody else's garden. I put it in my own, but I'm not sure if they had expectations for beautiful August bloom or July bloom. I really would think I'd get it with osteos. Um, this, as they say, is the opinion of Dr. Armitage and not the opinion of greenhouse grower Meister Media. But anyway, I love the stuff, but I'm just hesitant on it.
No, I think that's fair. I think a lot of plants have their specific zones where they perform better and their ideal climate, so that's
Absolutely.
understandable.
I think sometimes we try to make all plants for all people. They're just not. And the fact that we are essentially an international industry, and certainly when we go to a place like the California Spring Trials, we're talking about national. I mean, everybody's there from Louisiana to Minnesota to whoever else, and we're looking at them in California, that's just the way it is. But I think you're absolutely correct, Julie. We can't expect every plant to do everything for everybody. It's just too big a country. So
Mhm.
as long as we understand that osteos are really not terribly heat tolerant, go for it. It's
Yeah,
like
I think
it's
that's
like saying
good to
don't grow
know.
pansies because they don't take the heat. Well, heck, pansies are our number one plant here in the southeast because we can do them in the fall as well. But and osteos are like that.
Mhm. Okay, as for perennials, how about hibiscus?
Wow, good choice.
Well,
And
thanks.
I think that some of the plants that we're talking about, and maybe they've caught your eye, are eye catchers. We have talked before about Gerber daisies, how spectacularly brilliant they can be, and many other plants that we have talked about. Their claim to fame is that they catch their eye. Now, hibiscus, the hardy hibiscus, are there's plants that I think just unbelievably beautiful. Uh, there's good things with hibiscus and some not good things, but the hardy hibiscus, they come out of the ground very slowly. So from a landscape point of view, it's takes some time before they actually emerge from the ground. But they're quite hardy, they're quite strong, and the flowers, I mean, they are beautiful. They truly are, in many, many colors. The downside of hibiscus is one, they are very, very slow to come out. Two, people get confused with hardy and, shall we say, pot plant hibiscus,
Mhm.
where again, you can get hibiscus oftentimes at the grocery store, hibiscus here and there that may not have the tolerance, the cold tolerance that you want. And sometimes as an industry, we fail to make those differentiations. But the hardy hibiscus are great. The other thing that hibiscus have is, they get some little bugs on them. They get aphids and they get Japanese beetles. I mean, in the hibiscus family, Japanese beetles are like filet mignon. So you may have to maybe, the easiest thing with if in the garden center, the garden or the landscape is take some, hose, take some really strong water to them, knock them off, and they may come back, but or you can treat them, of course. But yeah, I think Japanese beetles and just slowness to come out of the ground are the only two drawbacks I see. Otherwise, you're going to have people oohing and awing, when those things start flowering.
I have heard that about hibiscus, that they're very like eye-catching and striking, but they can be kind of finicky when it comes to growing them, for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think the growing of them, you find some that come back well, and they just say they're quite lovely. But there's been so much change in hibiscus in the last number of years because we're as an industry we're so busy trying to impress with color that sometimes some of those things like cold hardiness and insect resistance and stuff have been not as good as they should be.
Hmm. All right.
That's yeah.
And then for the shrub, what are your thoughts on ninebark?
Well, Ninebark again is one of the shrubs at the greenhouse people can really handle. And, for better or for worse, historically, we've had shrubs by a shrub grower and color by a color grower, greenhouse versus nursery. That's no longer true. That's dissolved a lot. I mean, I know a lot of perennial plant nurseries that grow quite a few shrubs and vice versa. So then, Ninebark, there's some spectacular, again, some wonderful colors. There's some variegated, but the dark ones, the purple form, are quite beautiful. And the good thing about Ninebark is that the new breeding is a bit more compact than some of the old stuff. The old stuff could really go. I mean, it just had put out a long stem here and a long stem there. For the landscape person, the landscape maintenance person in particular, it was tough to sort of keep this stuff under control. But
Hmm.
having said that, it's quite beautiful. The foliage is probably prettier than the flowers, but flowers are lovely, and it has cold hardiness. And yeah, I like it. And the greenhouse operator also there. You can buy, of course, plugs of these, and you can put them in a gallon container and grow them on the bench,
Yep.
and you almost just get them off the bench just like a perennial. So they can be greenhouse grown and forced, so to speak, so they're ready in the spring. And it's one of those shrubs that can do that. And it's a cut and come back shrub, so you can cut it to the ground in the fall if you want, and it's going to come back in the spring just fine. So it's a real versatile plant. It's just now that we've got it under control, it's even better.
Hmm. Yeah, that sounds like a good development for sure. Well, I think that's all for today, but stay tuned for more varieties soon.
Oh yeah, we'll keep trying to stump the chump here, and we'll have good fun with the plants. Because really, let's face it, Julie, all those things we talk about, our common denominator is the plant, and the more that people get excited about the plants we grow, the better we are.